And welcome back to Washington Commanders Insider. Today, we're talking about some big key moves for the Washington Commanders as they have elevated a couple of players from the practice squad. We're going to be talking about what this is going to mean for the Washington Commanders as they head into Sunday's game against the Arizona Cardinals here. And so let's start off with the first elevation from the practice squad roster. Let's start with the offense, and that is going to be Chris Rodriguez Jr. Remember, he was drafted out of Kentucky. He was, in fact, taken in the 6th round. And the one thing that you get out of Chris Rodriguez Jr. is you get a little bit of a James Conner kind of vibe from this player. He's a player that likes to play behind his pads. He's very physical. And I think that once he gets his feet moving, he's definitely not a player that you are going to want to look forward to tackling as the game gets later. And I think that this is going to be huge for the Commanders because this is one of the key points that I had talked about earlier this week as we move into this game is that the Washington Commanders need to continue to push people up front. I think that that is big for their identity as far as, really taking this team to the next level. I talked about how Dan Quinn experienced that with the Atlanta Falcons when he was the head coach there. And I think he got a chance to see that a little bit of that when the Dallas Cowboys were really rolling over there. They had an established run game as well as a good pass attack. And I think that that is something that Cliff Kingsbury is going to want to really rely on here going into this game. I think that, there's probably so much that is going to be on Jaden Daniels. They're going to want to try to, pressure him to make some throws that he doesn't want to. And I think the first real key to really loosening up the Arizona Cardinals defense is running the football. And so I think that he is going to complement Brian Robinson Jr. I think that, he is going to be more so just a change in pace back. I mean, he might be a little bit more quicker as far as the burst, but I think that you're going to see something that is very similar with him and Brian Robinson Jr. They both play with power. They both like to be physical. They both play behind the pads. And he has good vision as well. I mean, that's another thing, too. I don't know if you got a chance to check him out during the preseason, but you got a chance to see that this young man has some really good vision. And I think that once he gets outside, gets into that second level of the defense, he can really do some damage. And I think Arizona is certainly going to be they're vulnerable on the ground, really, because if you look at the loss that they had against Buffalo, you see that James Cook, he had 70 yards in that particular contest. Last weekend when they lost against the Lions, David Montgomery had 105 yards. So I think that it starts there. So I think that this is a great elevation of the roster. We were trying to figure out, which running back the Commanders were going to go with. And so I think that this is an excellent choice. It doesn't give us a little bit more of the pass catching running back that we would have gotten with Austin Eckler, but I still think that we're going to be fine with Chris Rodriguez Jr. up here. And so I'm looking forward to seeing what he is going to do here on Sunday. Next up, the next player that we went ahead and elevated was Andre Jones Jr. And so I'm excited to see what he can do. I know he came in as a player that, he didn't have a lot of special team snaps and things like that coming in. And I guess that's one of the things that you want to see out of a player that you take in the 7th round. But I think that there's a lot of stuff on tape that you have to like. And at this point in time, if there's one thing that the Washington Commanders are going to need for the long haul, in its defense, and that is something that Dan Quinn is absolutely going to want to, fix and shore up here as he continues as the head coach. And so the one thing about him is he likes to play with power. Okay, so I love that about him. He is going to be a bit more physical as a edge rusher / linebacker. And so we do love that about him. He does have the knack to find a ball carrier. These are things that were talked about on draft night for him. And so that is going to be critical, especially if he gets a chance to play. The Cardinals are going to want to go out there and utilize James Conner. So we need to find players that are going to be able to find the ball carrier and make the tackle. So that's the next thing. We have to make tackles. We cannot have missed tackles this week, especially with James Conner. He plays a lot through that first initial contact. That's one of the things that I quite remember when he was with the Pittsburgh Steelers, and he still has a lot of that here with the Arizona Cardinals. And so next up, he does a great job in attacking double teams. All right. And so that's going to be critical, especially when you are trying to generate some pass rush and things like that. I talked about how we were 11th thus far as winning on pass rush rates and things like that. So that's going to be good. It's always good when you have a player that can occupy two. That way you can have another player that maybe gets in on a stunt, or, a nice exotic blitz that we may have drawn up. That allows us a little bit more to be, I guess, like more creative as a defense. So I love that about him, that he's able to attack double teams and kind of hold leverage pretty well. Next up, he's kind of inconsistent in containing the run, which is a little scary. Because I guess sometimes you're going to see on his tapes, he has some good principles at first where he gets in, he breaks down, he holds his running lane, makes the play there. And then there's sometimes where, he just gets a little inconsistent with containing the run. He takes the wrong angles, probably gets himself out of the play, which is something you don't want to do as an edge rusher, is go ahead and give up that edge. So we're going to need him to make those type of plays, especially with Kyler Murray, because I've said that before, that Kyler Murray, what he's going to want to do mainly when he gets out of the pocket is he's looking to run. Even though he's trying to fake like he's going to still be a passer, the majority of this season, the one thing that Kyler Murray has done is he has gone out and he has become a runner. And so we have got to make sure that we continue to hold those containing lanes. I talked about it here just a day ago that he is actually not as good when it comes to passing in the pocket. And so you want to make sure that, yes, if he's moving around, you still keep that pocket, because if he's able to break containment, he's going to get a long run, or it could lead to a long pass along the boundaries, which he wants to attack, or the right intermediate part of the field. So definitely that is the thing that the Washington Commanders are going to have to do if they go ahead and they play with these two players that have been elevated from the practice squad. And so lastly, I just want to say that the Washington Commanders, for me, the last point that I did not talk about here a day ago is that the Commanders are going to have to do exactly what they've been doing each week. And I think that is progressively getting better, not getting too big for the moment, and just really staying locked in with what they're trying to do as a football team. All right. So I think that is going to be huge for the Commanders, is making sure that they go out here and they continue to execute at a high level. They don't get too fancy, but continue to expand the playbook. I talked about this before, that the playbook from week one to now in week three, it was totally different with what Cliff Kingsbury was able to do. He really opened it up for Jaden Daniels. I think he feels comfortable now, and I think you're going to start to see a little bit more rapport with Terry McLaurin, Luke McCaffrey, Noah Brown. He's going to start to use these receivers now, along with what he's been able to do in the run game. And so let me know in the comments what you think about the Commanders making roster moves before the games. Do you feel like, Andre Jones Jr. is going to be a big impact this Sunday, or do you feel like it's going to be Chris Rodriguez Jr. who is going to be the bigger impact? Let me know in the comments. As usual, go Commanders. I'll see you guys on the next one. Peace.